from the 26th of September meeting were included with our information. Do any of the board members have any concerns, changes? Ms. Flood?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the minutes as presented.
Support.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes as presented and support. Please call the roll.
Diane Danaskas?
Yes.
Tony Kirby? Don Walker?
Yes.
Mike Flood?
Yes.
Dan Durham?
Yes. Next up, agenda review and approval. Next up, agenda review and approval for tonight's business. We have 4 cases, I believe, that we'll roll out here in a minute. Does anybody, Mr. Flood?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
A motion and we have support. One more time with the roll, please.
Joanne Van Tassel?
Yes.
Don Walker?
Yes.
Diane Danaskas?
Yes.
Dan Durham?
Yes.
Mike Flood?
Yes.
Okay, next we have ZBA business, but prior to calling the first case,
Yes, Mr. Chair, because I have a financial interest in the property in question, I ask to be recused for this matter.
board, move forward with a motion.
Yes, Mr. Chair, due to at Member Danaska's request, I move that she be recused for the next case.
And I will support. Motion on the floor and to support. Anything further? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Joanne Van Tassel?
Yes.
Mike Flood?
Yes.
Don Walker?
Yes.
Dan Durham?
Yes. Thank you. Record shows Mrs. Danaskas is now part of the audience for the next case, which we will open as AB 2022-36, Matt Danaskas and Pete and Nancy Smilanick, vacant parcel, 2 parcels south of 576 Cushing Street, Sidwell 09-03-278-027. Have a notation it was postponed from the August 22nd meeting. Petitioner is seeking 8 variances from zoning ordinance 78. Number 1 is Article 6, Section 6.04, zoned R3. First is a 10.25 front yard setback variance from the required 30 feet to build a house with a deck 19.75 feet from the front property line on the lakeside. Number 2 is a 17-foot rear yard setback variance from the required 35 feet to build a house 18 feet from the rear property line on Cushing Street. Number 3 is a 1-foot side yard setback variance from the required 8 feet to build a house 7 feet from the side property line on the north. Number 4 is a 1-foot side yard setback variance from the required 8 feet to build a house 7 feet from the side property line to the south. Revised number 5 is a 1.63 foot height variance from the required 30 foot to build a house 31.63 feet high. And number 6 is a 14.85% lot coverage variance from the required 25% for a total lot coverage of 39.85%. Do we have,
Excuse me,
Mr. Biscoto?
There's missing 7 and 8 there.
Okay, I do not have them on my information here. Thank you. Number 7, thank you for that. Number 7 is an 8-foot side yard setback variance for retaining walls to be 0 feet from the property lines, north and south. And under Article 27, Section 27.17B, the 8th and final is a 5.25 wetland setback variance from the required 25 feet to build a house with a deck 19.75 feet from a wetland lake. Now we've got it. Do we have a petitioner? Hate to say it, but you've been here before. Introduce yourself and let us know what you'd like to do.
I'm Pete Smelnick, and this is my wife, Nancy Smelnick, the owners.
And I'm Mike Riddle with Rising Construction.
Okay. Board members. guess I can start. I noticed by the revision that you have been working with the township in an attempt to make what you want to do more compatible with what they're comfortable with, and that's always appreciated. And I look at the information here in front of me, and I look at the drawing there. That's quite a place. I've never seen anything like it, and the vision that it takes to put something like that in place has got to be tremendous.
Mr. Chair, I have a question on the fire marshal's review.
Mr. Walker.
Is the letter we have from September 21st, is that the last bit of information we have from the fire marshal?
Let's see what I've got here.
That's the latest I've got.
Getting closer. Well, getting closer. Pinning all this stuff together.
Well, while you're looking for that, let me just explain my concern about that is, I understand that the applicant's been back, we've been back and forth a bunch on this, and it looks like much of this stuff has been ironed out between the parties that be out there. The one thing I'm noticing, though, is that recommendation from the fire marshal, and I can't tell, was that recommendation made when the request for the variance was 10 feet? We know that?
No, from my reading of the communication from Jeff Williams, he indicates, after reviewing the letter from the Kelly firm, the zoning ordinance per state law and case decisions has more authority over what's allowed or not allowed than do building codes and fire codes. So the whole thing should be viewed on the basis of what the zoning ordinance says. And, you know, and I think you've already indicated that the height of the building has been reduced quite a bit. And that was the fire chief's concern the first time around. If you start at the bottom of a letter and read up through the pages. And
I concur with your synopsis.
thank you.
That is the most recent information, too, that you have
Okay.
there.
Thank you.
If I might, I have some questions that
Please.
I tried to digest all this information, and some concerns I have is, on looking at the drawings, you show an elevator on the south side of the structure. But nowhere did I see where the elevator doors were. I assume that there's going to be some.
Yes, the elevator doors are into the inside of the building. So I just didn't put them in there because I was just getting the design of the building done, so I could get it out there.
Okay, next question. Are there stairways from interior, from every level of this structure to every other level?
Yes. Would you like to see a picture of the stairways? Because I do have those in there at least. Your doorway,
Yeah,
you're
but-
correct, I did not, but, so the main level. Yeah.
As the discussion moves, if your information moving will help everybody see, please feel free to move it if you need to.
Well, we have it, and I brought a little pointer here so I can point for you guys. So right there, yeah, I was really excited about this pointer, so. So, this right here is our main stairs.
If you point on his screen, can all of us see it on our little screen?
Okay, there you
I
go.
mean, I don't know, I'm asking, yeah, now,
With a mouse.
okay, now I can see it without,
You know, you ruined my whole point of having, I went out. But that's okay. So you can see, this would be our stairs coming here, that you would start to go downstairs and go to the room. So that would be all the floors. These would be our stairs going up to our master suite. And that's how you move around there.
okay, next question. Do you have stairs on the exterior that lead from every level?
I do on both sides, yes. So you
Okay.
can see the stairs, oops, go back on that. So the stairs, so from above here, on the driveway, there's a gate right there that also leads to a man door into the garage, and then there are stairs that go down to the level below that would have a man door going in there, and then stairs that would go down to the lowest level there. And then if you go down to,
Okay, yeah. I mean, in most places where I see people have decks, whether on the lake or, an interior lot, usually they go from deck to deck. You seem to have them all stacked on the side of the house.
I have stairs going down on both sides of the house, so you can get down from level to level. Mainly for egress, so people can get out of the house in the case of a fire.
Okay, well, I go back in this township a long way, back to when Jeff Key was fire chief. And I know that fire safety was always a big concern of his. I know that, at least it's my understanding, that you do not have public water at this site, is that correct?
That's correct.
What is the source of your water then?
Well, like all the other houses on that street.
Beg your
A
pardon?
well, a well. So we have sewer and a well.
Okay. I'm glad you have a sewer, because I was concerned, what do you do with all your wastewater? Have you given any thought to, in areas where there is a possibility of a fire starting, such as in a kitchen area, or near your mechanical room, having a sprinkler system, possibly having it be a separate one, taking water out of the lake so it's non-potable water to supply fire suppression?
So on my house, what I actually did, because the height of it made me very concerned about fire. So every house I've ever built, I've built out of wood. This house, each floor is going to be constructed out of concrete. So all the main structures, like you were talking about the stairs on the exterior, the walls that separates the stairs going downstairs on the outside is separated by a concrete wall there. So if there was a fire ever going on the outside, the firefighter would be protected to get to the main, whatever level he needed to by a concrete wall. In my house, I don't think I have any reason to have a sprinkler system, because each floor is actually concrete, so in concrete, it's non-combustible. So all the structural elements of the floor, or in the columns, and the walls are all concrete too. So the main elements that would support this house are concrete. So no, I haven't gave it any thought to do that.
Okay, just realize that the walls may not burn, but what's on the stove may. What goes wrong in a mechanical area isn't concrete. Your water heater isn't going to be concrete. Your heating system, I doubt, is concrete. I'm just asking questions. My problem is, when I was supervisor, I had to deal with Jeff Key and some of his requirements, and some of it just, stuck up here, which is why I asked the questions, and so be thankful that Chief Key isn't fire chief right now.
Well, Jeff wasn't much easier these days. He brought good points to the table, which, so.
I think that exhausts the questions I have after having reviewed these plans.
Mr. Flood?
Yeah. For the record, I did talk to the Fire Marshal Jeff Keys, and I talked to him prior to you revising your height. And I appreciate you bringing that down. I see in our documents you reduced that by 1.5 feet to 2 feet per floor in order to get reduce it from 40 feet down to 31 feet. Talking to Mr. Keys, I served on the fire department for 10 years myself when I was a lot younger man. This is before we had aerials. We always had to attack a fire with ladders. This is what Mr. Key's main concern was, is that your practical difficulty is your elevation of that property from Cushing Street, it severely drops down to the lake. I look at that as a practical difficulty, trying to put something on that property. You're gonna have living quarters above your garage, is that correct?
That's correct.
So what his concern was, if for some reason he could not access the house from the front, they would have to put a ladder up on the rear, and that's where your severe drop is on your elevation. And that's why they have the 30-foot on our ordinances, because those ladders, they can only go like I forgot what he said it was. It wasn't 40 feet, that's for sure. You know, an extension ladder. His main concern was getting that extension ladder off of that lower thing. You've already said you've got stairs on both sides outside, so that gives you access there too. So that's a good thing there. I want to make, for the record, I just want to tell you, I talked to Fire Marshal Williams about that. And if you know, between our, alluding to what Ms. Van Tassel said on the attorney's opinion on the difference in the ordinances, is that the fire department, on their ordinance, they measure the height a different way than what our ordinance 78 does. And your ordinance 78 is what we're going by here on the, asking for that, I call it 19 and a half inch variance you're asking for. It's actually 19 and a half inches. It comes up to over 30 feet. So, and you reduced it by 8.5 feet, which I appreciate that, because I guarantee one day I would not have, and I think that's why you postponed twice, was that I would not be in favor of going that high with that limited accessibility and that street in there. That's my comment.
That is why we moved forward with that, because I saw Jeff's point very clearly. It was not a, once he started talking about it and everything, it was like, no, this is a no-brainer. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I want you to be able to get to save my wife and I if there was an issue. So it was, after we talked with him, it was just a no-brainer. We just went back and changed it because it's like, yeah, that's a good recommendation he had, and we need to follow that recommendation.
See, you went with a flat roof too. That's, put a peak roof on there, you're defeating your whole purpose.
That's exactly right.
Okay, thank you.
I wasn't gonna bring this up, but since everybody else has, I guess I can too. You're in receipt, I'm certain, of the final letter from the fire marshal regarding the matter? Yes. So you know that it's not all calm water and smooth sailing. He still has some concerns. Ms. Van Tassel went to a lesser degree. Mr. Flood brought up that the International Fire Code appears to be in conflict with the local zoning ordinances. Mr. Williams, in this case, undoubtedly as a designee of the fire chief himself, is acting as the spokesperson for the authority having jurisdiction. That's what it's called in the fire code, and they call it that for a reason. They basically lay out what needs to happen, and other folks will have to tailor their plans to what they believe needs to happen. I have to admit, I am a retired fire marshal from another jurisdiction. So when he still has concerns, for us to get a legal opinion that says, well, the zoning ordinance trumps it, I don't see it, because once they decided that they wanted to adopt the International Fire Code here in the township, which was a wise move, it's peer reviewed and it's coast to coast. It's up to the top and down to the bottom. It is the Bible for the fire service and life safety in particular. And I wish that there could have been some type of an arrangement reached so that everybody was kind of happy. He's a lot happier than he was by the look of the letter, but I just don't want the record to appear that everything's fine, they're good, we're good, you're good, everybody's good. He still has some concerns, which, coming from my background, it makes me nervous. I'm not gonna lie to you. Thank you, that's all I had. Unless you'd like to respond, please feel free.
Yeah, so part of us working over the last few months, trying to bring this as close to the ordinances as we could, one of the things that this house has that most homes do not have is that whole back patio is flat, it's solid concrete, and it's stable, where a lot of the other homes on that street and many other streets like it that have the severe grades, that what we are trying to with the chief is trying to say that you have a much better area here. We got a house, it's a 2-hour rated house. Most houses are quite a bit less than that, even half or more. And then on top of it, they have areas all the way around the house that actually will have stable areas to put a ladder or any type of safety device. So we know that there's still some going back and forth, and we tried to get as close as we could, but we also think that the home, between the fire rating of the home and working around the perimeter, this home is a lot better than other homes if there is an issue.
Did you hear the words area of refuge at all through this whole thing? Because sometimes, especially in a multi-story, we get there fast, and there's people we just can't get right away, and we have to have a place for them to go and be relatively safe until we can get them. And that counts towards a lot of things in the plans, if there's an area of refuge.
Can I add to that point right there?
Please.
So if you'll go to your rendering of the front elevation. So our point of refuge in our master suite for the front elevation. So if you see, whoops, yeah, this is sensitive. It likes to move around here. This area where the mouse is, that would be our point of refuge right there. That is right above the garage, and that is out of our master. That's our egress out of there to be rescued. So I would hope that we would be able to come out that side right there, and that would be our point of refuge to be rescued if we needed to. So that height right there is 14 feet. So ladder access, it's right by the street. That is where my wife and I are going at that, if there was a problem.
Well, that's a very good thing to know. I appreciate you mentioning that, because you don't value good, clean, smoke-free air until you get to it after having been inside. And then it doesn't matter if you have to wait a few minutes, because you're still in an area where you can stay safe.
Yes, and that was the thought of if we had a fire where we would exit the house.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Goodlaw.
So the International Fire Code actually governs the road and fire access and if sprinklers are required by code. The structure itself is governed by the Michigan Residential Code. That's what we were talking about when we got an attorney opinion. So the Michigan Residential Code only requires one main egress door for a home. Otherwise, each bedroom has to have egress windows for the sleeping areas. So a good question would be where the egress windows at for the upper 2 levels. Obviously, the main story has an egress front door. It looks like you have an egress out the side of your bedroom up top. Is that correct? That's correct. So in regards to meeting the intent of the code for residential, this meets it. Now, the issue was the road, because we are having several houses put on this road, almost like a small development, and the road just isn't able to carry a fire truck with an apparatus to get to the top of a 49-foot building. So that's why they were, Jeff's main concern was we don't have ladders that tall. So I just wanted to clear some of that up for you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything additional about the entertain a motion if somebody's so inclined. Wait, stop. I almost did it. Do we have anybody in the audience that would like to come up and speak to public comment on this matter specifically? Seeing none, thank you. Now we can entertain a motion. Ms. Flood.
I always get the long ones,
You're the ex-fire expert.
because I'm long-winded. Mr. Chairman. In the matter of ZBA case AB 2022-36, Matt Danaskis and Pete and Nancy Semelek, vacant parcel 2 parcels south of 576 Cushing Street, Sidwell 0903-278027, postponed from the 8/22/022 meeting. Would move that the petitioner request for 8 variances from zoning ordinance 78, Article 6, Section 6.04, zoned R3. 1, a 10.25-foot front yard setback variance required 30 feet to build a house with a deck 19.75 feet from the front property line, lakeside. Number 2, a 17-foot rear yard setback variance from the required 35 feet to build a house 18 feet from the rear property line, Cushing Street. Number 3, a 1-foot side yard setback variance from the required 8 feet to build a house 7 feet from the side property line north. Number 4, a 1-foot side yard setback variance required 8 feet to build a house 7 feet from the side property line south. Number 5, a 1.63-foot height variance from the required 30 feet to build a house 31.63 feet high. Number 6, 14.85% lot coverage variance required 25% for a total lot coverage of 39.85%. Article 27, Section 27.02A4. Number 7, 8-foot side yard setback variances for retaining walls to be 0 feet from the property lines north and south. Article 27, Section 27.17B. Number 8, a 5.25-foot wetland setback variance required 25 feet to build a house with a deck 19.75 feet from a wetland lake be granted because this petitioner did demonstrate that the following standards of variances have been met in this case, and that they set forth facts which show that in this case, petitioner does show the following practical difficulty, mainly due to the unique characteristics of this property, this lot. It severely goes down from the main road, which is Cushing Street, to the lake. And they're trying to build a house that would be compatible on this property, and, which is a permitted use for that property. The following are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved that do not generally apply to other properties in the same district or zone. As we say, this lake lot is very difficult with its elevation, and also the street access is limited to all the houses on that street. The variance necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of substantial property right possessed by other property in the same zone or district based on the following findings of fact. This is similar with a lot of lake lots we have on asking for these numerous side yard setbacks so they can have a permitted use in there for today's type of housing that would fit properly on that area. The granting of the variance modification will not be material detrimental to the public welfare or material interest to the property or to improvements in said zone or district in which the property is located based on the following findings of fact. I'd like to have the letter from the fire marshal, which is dated 9/21/022, which they approved with comments, made part of the motion and entered into the record. Further, based on the following findings of fact, and granting of this variance would not imply an adequate supply of light or air to adjacent properties. It would not unreasonably increase congestion in a public street. By building this type of structure with this two-story garage and giving the relief off the road, it would keep cars from being parked in the street. Endanger the fire, endanger the public safety. Again, I'll allude to the fire marshal's letter dated 9/22, approved with comments regarding that factor. Unreasonably diminish or impair established property values within surrounding areas. In fact, it will improve the property values in that area. Or in any other respect, impair the public health, safety, comfort, morals, or welfare of the inhabitants of the Charter Township of Orion.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Walker.
I would be willing to support the motion if the motion maker also includes the various back and forths there have been between the applicant and the consultants in this matter to try to work this out. This was not something they came in and said, this is what we want, and this is all we want. They were willing to go back and forth, and even though there's a large number of variances here, most of them had been reduced due to this conversation,
I'll amend my motion to reflect that.
and I'll support that.
We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Flood, supported by Mr. Walker. Ms. Van Tassel, you have anything before we?
Nope, I've asked all my
Okay.
questions early on, and I'm satisfied with the accommodations that they have made to make this more compatible with the ordinances and to reduce the amount of variances that they are seeking.
Please call the roll.
Joanne Van Tassel,
Yes?
Don Walker,
Yes,
Mike Flood,
Yes.
Dan Durham.
Yes, motion passes. You're on your way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. Let the record show we have Mrs. Danaskis back with us at her proper spot as the fifth voting member. Next up, AB 2022-30, Adam Martin, 2936 Saturn Drive, Sidwell, 09-20-435-024, postponed from August 8th meeting. Petitioner seeking three variances from zoning ordinance 78, zoned R2. Article 27, Section 27.02, A4, and Article 27, Section 27.05, H2. Number one is the 35-yard front yard setback, 35-foot front yard setback. Variance from the required 35 feet to erect a 6-foot privacy fence 0 feet from the property line along Walden Road. Number two is a 10-foot side yard setback variance from the required 10 feet to erect a 6-foot privacy fence 0 feet from the side property line to the east. Number three is a 10-foot side yard setback variance from the required 10 feet to erect a 6-foot privacy fence 0 feet from the side property line to the west. Please introduce yourself. Let us know why you'd like to do what you want to do.
My name is Adam Martin. The address was given. So we are on a pretty heavy road. We were looking to get a deviant from the 4-foot to 6-foot, as you had described. Previously in a meeting that you guys had suggested that we talk to our HOA, try and find a solution that goes that route. Many of our residents that are interested in this have actually done that. That's a very slow process. So because of that situation, although I do believe I have found new practical difficulty, which might help me in my situation, I want to request a postponement to the end of February. Get us through the holiday season so that we might be able to get a better idea of what our HOA can do with our zoning, with our city council, and see what my options are as that tends to develop.
Okay, to answer that question, our date certains don't go out that far.
No, actually, the February agenda has not even been set until if it's voted on a board meeting at the end of the year to agree on the new dates, right, Mr. Flood? We don't.
He would like to postpone till February, but those dates aren't set. And Mr. Goodlow said you, as the board, will have to vote on them before?
Yeah, typically we set our dates and then they're.
Yeah, well, those dates won't be set until December.
Yes.
That's where he was going. So, for this gentleman, does that, gonna require him to re-advertise and reapply?
If, if it pleases the board, you could go to one of the, if you're okay with the petitioner postponing, you can put him on one of these dates certain. But until we know those dates, we're not gonna know what they are, but we don't wanna send them back to pay $250, so maybe move them to a case that we know, and then maybe we'll know more, maybe put it as priority to set the dates.
We've got, we've got dates, 24th of October, 14 November, and 28 November, but those sound like those will not.
I'm just nervous that as we come into the holiday season, that not a whole lot of movement's going to happen as we work, with our HOA and then move forward with the city council. on whatever options they choose that they want to move forward with.
So if we make note in the record tonight that you would like to postpone into February, you understand that we can't give you a date. They may, when they have the dates already lined up, there may be people ahead of you, I don't know.
That's fine.
And I don't know what their situation will be, but we will make sure they are aware that you would like to postpone.
Okay.
We will,
Yeah, as long as I don't lose my place moving into 2023, if that's, as long as I'm safe with doing that. I'm very flexible on when we come back to kind of rehash the situation.
you'll have 2 shots a month, hopefully, right, straight from January on out.
I'm hoping that we can come to a solution with our HOA, and it might include the city council, and we could bypass this conversation here. And I would be happy to call and say I'd like to cancel. You know, one of those situations I think would work best, not just for me, but the other members of our community that are eager to do this very similar action.
We always urge people not to end up here if they don't have to. So that would be a good thing.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Walker?
Question, Mr. Goodloe.
Yes.
Does this board have the authority to waive? I mean, I hate to have them come back and have to pay that $250 because our scheduling doesn't go up far enough. When he's kind of willing to do that, is there anything in the ordinances or bylaws that could?
If it makes sense, I know that this might waste a spot on your guys' board, but take the latest one I can, then request again postponement, you know.
I'm just trying to save you some money.
Oh, I appreciate that,
Trying
yes.
to do.
Yeah, unless we have a date certain, the township will be charged the re-advertising fees for that. So I think Petitioner makes a great point. If we go to November 28th, then,
And then see what happens by that time.
yeah, and you might be able to, talk to the planning and zoning director and maybe get dates certain at that meeting, because that's close to the end of the year.
Okay.
I believe we only have one meeting in December typically. So, now we could find, I know usually we won't see it, but there is a meeting in December that is not on here.
28th of November sound doable to you?
Of November, yeah, do we think we'll have dates moving into 2023 at
I
that?
think, that's one meeting off where where maybe this board will entertain speaking to the director about, setting the dates on that date for next year.
And if you guys are good with knowing that I'm probably gonna show up at that meeting and request a postponement, I don't want it to look like I'm wasting anybody's time.
You can always contact them by phone and get advice about this kind of stuff too. I mean, they have office hours every day.
Okay.
You can ask for planning and zoning, they got good people there, and they'd be able to give you good information.
Perfect, so I might even be able to push this back at a later date by going through the phone.
Maybe, maybe not, it's just,
maybe
I know if I've got a question, I call them, Okay, so I'm hearing from you,
Joanne was.
Ms. Van Tassel.
And before we let the gentleman go, I'd like some clarification. On the agenda before me, it says postponed from the August 8th, 2022 meeting. And it lists a 35-foot front yard setback. And, how did the back of the house, that property is backlotted. So the back of your house is what's closest to Walden Road.
So we have a particular, a practical difficulty, if you will, on our property lines. Those that are on the outside of our community typically border both their front property, like in my case, it's Saturn Drive, and then in the back side, it's actually Walden Road. So because I have a road on both sides of my house, I'm forced to experience 2 front yards. Therefore, I don't have the typical 30-10, I have a 30-30. 35-30.
Okay, then it goes on, a 10-foot side yard setback variance from the required 10 feet to erect a 6-foot privacy fence, and it says the same thing on the other side. And yet, I look at the application that was part of the packet I was given, And it says here, and I'm on the top of page 2 of, or page 3 of 4, it says, I would like to install a 6-foot shadow box fence along the back of my property line only, not along the side. 4-foot fences are already allowed. Now, either you are seeking a 6-foot, a variance for a 6-foot fence, or you're not.
I am.
All I'm saying is clear that up before it comes back.
I can clarify, I think.
Floyd, Mr. Naskis.
He's erecting it along the rear of the property, but it's going to extend that rear fence 10 feet on each side, so it goes to the property line. He's not building it back to the house, it's just that that back fence won't stop 10 feet from the sides, it'll go all the way to the side.
As we meet
Corner to
each
corner.
other's
Corner to
neighbor,
corner.
there's a 10-foot buffer in between the property lines from my left and right. That is what that variance covers. Still a straight line, not coming
It's
in.
not my understanding. I mean, I understand the explanation you've given. But the rear property line is the rear property line. The rear property line does not stop 10 feet from the side of the lot. It goes the entire way.
But
And if that's what they're talking about here, I think somebody's got a lot of gobbledygook.
But when you want to build a 6-foot fence, if he was building a 4-foot fence,
When that's come here.
he could take it all the way to the sidelines. But because it's a 6-foot fence, he would technically have to stop it 10 feet from each side yard. Am I
Why?
correct?
That,
Am I
that's,
explaining
that doesn't make any sense to me
That's the way the
whatsoever.
ordinance, that's the way the ordinance is, written and interpreted.
I get it.
I totally
That's what we get
agree
from the
with
planning and zoning department. We've handled numerous ones of these.
I know.
Yeah. It's confusing, Joanne, I understand.
I get it.
I was just looking, our last case for 2022 is December 12th as well.
Right.
Okay, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I think it's goofy, and I'm glad I'm not sitting over there.
That's what we discussed at the ad hoc meeting, remember, trying to get these things cleared up? That front,
That's one that needs a lot of help, because a rear property line is a rear property
Right.
line. A front property line is a front property line. I mean,
and until we get that
it doesn't
redone,
stop 10 feet.
it's still 2 front yards, which doesn't make sense. I understand.
I mean, when he has no access to Walden Road whatsoever. I mean,
I'm not arguing the fact, I agree with, that's why we need to get that resolved in that ordinance, get that cleared up.
okay.
Yep.
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Question for Mr. Goodloe, did you say we have a scheduled meeting in December?
Yeah,
Do you
December
show
12th.
Do you
That's
show
what
any cases?
I do not know if there's any cases on it yet. It's not on here, but we do have a meeting on
December
December.
12th is our last meeting of the year.
That's our last meeting.
November 28th, December 12th, you tell me.
Sounds great to me.
No, you tell me, you
Yes,
wanted
I
it?
would like December 12th, December.
All right. Hearing the gentleman asked to postpone until December 12th to gather more information on his end, if anybody would like to make a motion in that direction.
Make a motion. In the matter of AB 2022-30, Adam Martin, 2923 Saturn Drive, Sidwell number 0920453024. I make a motion that per the petitioner's request, that this matter be postponed until the meeting in November 28th, 2022. And I would also like it mentioned that at that time, there may be a request to postpone again to a date certain, but we do not have dates in 2023 yet. And
Very good, I'll support. Moved by Mr. Danaskis, supported by myself. Anything additional from the board?
28th?
November 28th. Yep.
We said December,
Yeah, I thought we were
we
going to
said
do.
Oh,
December
December 12th.
December
I'll
12th.
amend, please, to December 12th.
12/12.
I just wanted to make sure.
I seen the look on your face. I think you caught it.
I'll amend that to December 12th.
December
And I'll amend the support. So we have a motion on the floor with support. Anything else by the board? Seeing none, please call the roll.
John Walker,
Yes.
Joanne Van Tassel,
Yes,
Mike Flood,
Yes.
Diane Danaskis.
Yes.
Dan Durham.
Yes, see you in December.
Great, thanks for your support.
Next up, we have 2022-31 Ken Backus at 2911 Walmsley Circle. Sidwell 09-20-452-013. Again, postponed from the 8th of August. Petitioner seeking 3 variances from zoning ordinance 78, zoned R2. Article 27, Section 27.02A4, and Article 27, Section 27.05H2, 35-foot front yard setback variance from the required 35-foot to erect a 6-foot privacy fence 0 feet from the property line along Walden Road. Number 2, a 10-foot rear yard setback variance from the required 10 feet to erect a 6-foot privacy fence 0 feet from the property line to the east. Number 3, a 10-foot side yard setback variance from the required 10-foot to erect a 6-foot privacy fence 0 feet from the side property line to the west. Do we have a petitioner? We have a mic at the seated position, I never noticed. Do we have a microphone at the seated position out there?
No, not yet.
Introduce yourself and let us know what you'd like to do, sir.
My name is Kenneth Backus. I live right on Walmsley Circle, right? My backyard backs up to Walden Road. I'm basically here in support of the other folks that are along there about putting the taller fence up.
You're asking for one for your property, correct?
If it gets approved for along there, I would put that along my property, yes.
All right, I'm confused, and if Mr. Goodlow knows more about this than I do, but I'm looking at a full variance request with your name on it right here in front of me, similar to what the gentleman that just had the mic had. It appears that you're asking to put the fence in the same way that they are.
Yes,
So you want it on your property?
yes,
Okay, and it's not contingent on anything else? You'd like it for your property?
yes.
Okay? You were here once before. Has anything changed between the time you were here and now? Okay? What can you tell us? I mean, you live there, we don't. What can you tell us as far as need?
Could I tell you why I want it and so
Yes, sir.
forth?
That'd do the same thing.
I've had lots of people cut through my yard. My yard is a real perfect yard to cut through from along Walden to get into Walmsley Circle. I'm right at the very last home on the canal, and mainly teenagers and younger don't want to walk all the way down towards Baldwin to where and then come on into Walmsley Circle. My road, my yard is ideal to just cut through from Walden to Walmsley Circle. So I get a lot of traffic cutting through there. And I'd like to stop that. And the fence would probably stop that. The other thing that's kind of annoying is, since I've lived there for over 50 years, I had the home built, I'm the only one that's lived there. When I was married at one time, I'm not married now. Since I've come there, there's been a great amount of changes to create a lot of noise along Walden Road. Large trucks that go in and empty the stuff for Kroger's, and even Ace Hardware has quite a few big trucks sometimes. Sometimes they come all hours of the day and night. That fence would help that a lot, I feel. I've had things stolen from my yard from people, I think, cut through from Walden. There's no fence there. Well, there is a little junky fence now. It's about pretty well fell down. It's been there for a long time. But it's just one of that type of fence. It's not really there in most places anymore. That's why I kind of would like to have a nicer fence like they put up along Baldwin Road. I don't think that fence along Baldwin Road is detrimental at all. I think it's a nice, pretty nice-looking fence.
If I can ask you a question, is your property the one that's had most of the brush cut off the back of it? I mean, it's pretty open on the Walden side?
Here's an aerial. If you,
No.
it's not in your packet, it was in mine.
Because there's one of them that's cut almost completely free, and they've got some small arborvitae's in there.
No,
That's not,
I try to let all the brush grow up.
okay, well, I understand that. Okay, that's what I was curious about. You do know, I'm certain, that you can have a 4-foot fence, and we can say nothing about it.
Yes, I know, I'm aware of that.
And
But I feel that 6-foot fence would be a lot better. I mean, kids would jump over a 4-foot fence. And Walden Road there's several different styles of fences now along there. In fact, there's been a new fence put up this week, about 3 houses from me. I think it must be a 4-foot fence,
It's 4-foot shadow box, yes.
yeah. This idea of having so many different kinds of fences, I don't think's ideal, but that's all I'm here in support for my neighbors here. These neighbors, I call them my neighbors across the pond. They're across the pond from me, and we both live, Ted, he lives at the last home on the canal, like I live on the last home on the canal. He's kind of my neighbor across the pond. That's about all I have to say.
okay, board members, Ms. Van Tassel.
Mr. Backus, I've got an aerial photo here that shows that you've got about, if I'm reading these figures right, either almost 28 or 38 feet that is parallel with Walden Road. And then there's a piece of it that goes off at a diagonal, about a 45-degree angle off of that, that's about 60 feet, that you're not asking any fencing for. But to me, from that part of Walden Road, it's completely open, and if your concern is people cutting through your yard, there's 60 feet that's still open. Are you aware of that?
I mean, I guess, number one, said earlier, I don't hear very good at all anymore. I think I tried to hear you. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
If you'd like to come up and
Yeah,
Mr. Chair?
look at this aerial photo that,
Gentleman in the back, are you hoping to come up and support this gentleman? All right, we can't do two at once. I just thought maybe we can back him up.
This is your property right here, outlined in the red. Okay, now here's this, and then they got this piece right here that's open. I mean, I'm just going by what, this comes off the aerial photos. No, it isn't. This is Mr. Backus's property. This
is my property.
he owns a long end of the canal lot.
Whoever designed this is, whoever.
Well, these are how the lots are platted. This is how Howard Keating submitted it.
I could tell
My
you.
property's over here, it goes all the way across there. And I got denied that.
Okay, so that you're not the fellow next door this way?
No, I'm not. He's all the way over at this end over here. This is a strange situation. Many
They
years
asked him if he wanted it back in the day, and he said no, so they gave it to my house. So I was,
Okay, because the abutting photo that I have for the variance request is the property to the west.
that's the next guy that's not here, Michael.
Okay. And you're the one that got denied then?
I'm gonna mention that when I get a chance.
Okay, good.
The other thing I'd like to suggest, thank you for clearing that up, appreciate that.
I could tell you about that. I was in my bag when they were developing
Yeah.
his side of the fence many years ago, his side of the canal. Some gentleman in suits come up to me one day when I was in the backyard and says, Mr. Backus, yes, this property along here, this was all bulldozer. There was no homes there. It was pheasant. And he says, this property along here, we're gonna have to do something with it. Somebody's gonna have to own it. It's yours and it's free. Like, what? talked about little bit. I said, let me think that over a little bit. And I came back to him, I says, I don't want that property. Okay, somebody's gonna get it. When they develop it, they added it to his lot. They
Yeah,
added
because
that.
you're in sub 1 and he's in sub 4.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, okay.
And so he ended up with it, and it's kind of a, thorn in, kind of a thorn, I don't know.
Okay.
They told me I wasn't gonna raise my taxes on top if I take it. I discussed it with some people, and I said, no, I don't want it.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Sir, you do not have a case on tonight. Could you, everybody go back to the mic, can you back this gentleman up? Just hang there in case he comes up with a question that you might be able to help him with.
Come back here, Ken.
One thing I would like to suggest that you people consider, you're concerned about noise, and I can understand that. But wood is a hard surface. And wood isn't gonna absorb the sound. It's gonna bounce off. I would suggest you people seriously consider planting some arborvitae along there, which will absorb the sound. And arborvitae will grow up. And, you know, I got the guy that lives across the street from me, years ago planted arborvitae. The current owner is the fourth one in that property. He didn't plant them, but when they were planted, they were only 4 feet. Now, they're 10, 12 feet, and they do a good job of absorbing noise.
I have arborvitae and I have people cut through my lawn, threaten me.
Well, I didn't see your arborvitae. I saw a whole lot of scrub vegetation is what I call it.
All right. We can't do this from the audience. If you want to come up under public comment at the end, you're welcome to do that.
You want to just,
Okay. Does any of the board members have anything? Mr. Flood?
I previously stated this before, that's a homeowners association concern along there, because what they're actually doing is replacing a original split rail fence that was all put along that roadway. You can still see remnants of it along the road there. I still say that 4-foot shadow box fence will be, solve their problem. I see a brand-new fence is put in, 4 foot at 2933 Wamsley Circle, just down the 4 houses down from there. I think the HOA should be considering this, to take care of this for their neighbors. They shouldn't have to have these folks come in here and individually have to spend the money to do it. I think the HOA is letting them down, making them do the hard work, and that's my comment.
how can the HOA take care of it?
I don't know that you heard you. This gentleman wonders how you feel the HOA could help them.
How can the HOA take care of this issue?
I'd go to your HOA meeting and tell them
Tell them what?
what I just said,
Pretty much what you're running.
what I just said.
You said that they can take care of it. I'm wondering what that is. How can they take, what do they have to do to take?
I'm just saying, this, to me, this is an HOA problem, that's my comment.
He probably just wants to postpone until December 12th.
There was a site plan made up for this subdivision when it was made 60 years ago, and this gentleman almost moved in that long ago. Things have changed out there, absolutely.
Mr. Walker?
Mr. Chair, yeah, Mr. Backos, I'm not gonna tell you what to do or suggest what you should do, but you understand that your neighbor who was here just before you has put his concerns off until we can get it scheduled again. So hopefully we'll have time to change things, revisit things, come up with a solution to this. You have the right to, you're here, you can ask us to vote again, but I'm not sure if you have nothing else to add to what you told us the last time. I don't know, I'm only one vote, I don't know how it'll go, but I don't think it's gonna go well for you. I mean, I'm suggesting, if you could suggest too, you know what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe that would be a solution, at least for the time being, and then we could probably try to find a holistic solution to this farther down the road.
Can we change ours to a front yard and a backyard? We don't want two front yards, I want a backyard.
That'd be a zoning ordinance change, that'd be beyond the purview of this board.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it runs that way in,
Is that a practical difficulty?
it runs that way in communities all over. I work in yet another community, and a lot of them get stuck with two front yards, depending on where they are. And they pay for it.
That is something we're looking at within the fence committee to address the two front yard issues. That is something that we may speak about.
I mean, my driveway goes to the front yard, I don't have a driveway going out to the other front yard.
Well, it's a poor answer, but that's the way it's been forever, and it's gonna have to be changed. And it's gonna take change by people like yourself in blocks that represent an HOA to come in and see what we can get done. This board has very limited authority. The only authority we have tonight is to decide if this gentleman can put a 6-foot fence up. Beyond that, we have nothing. So, Mr. Backus, what Mr. Walker was asking you is, are you requesting a vote tonight, or do you want to put this off until December 12th to stay with your neighbors in a big block?
Put it off.
That is your request. Okay, if a board member would, Mr. Naskus.
That in the matter of AB 2022-31, Ken Backus, 2911 Walmsley Circle Drive, Sidwell number 09-20-452-013, that in this matter be postponed until the next meeting on December 12th, 2022, per the petitioner's request.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Naskus, supported by Mr. Flood. Please call the roll.
Mike Flood,
Yes.
John Walker. Diane Danese,
Yes.
Joanne Van Tassel,
Yes,
Dan Durham.
Yes. See you the 12th of December with your neighbors. Take care of yourself between now and then.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Apparently, our next case is not with us. It happens so seldom. What's the move?
It's up to you. You can deny the case based on no representation, or you can postpone it.
What's the feeling of the board?
Postponing it.
Postpone till the
The
12th.
12th of December?
Absolutely.
Let's keep this whole thing in one
Yeah.
package if we can.
I like that idea.
Okay. Let's have a voice vote motion, please.
In the case of
Here you go. Right there.
In the case of AB 2022-32, Mike Humbert, 2917 Walmsley Circle, Sidwell number 09-20-452-012. I move that this matter be postponed until the December 12th, 2022 meeting.
I will second the motion. Was that due to the fact that the applicant is not here?
Yeah, okay.
We have
I
a
did say
motion.
that.
We have a motion. We have support. One more time with the roll.
Diane Danese,
Yes.
Joanne Van Tassel,
yes,
John Walker,
Yes.
Mike Flood,
Yes.
Dan Durham.
Yes.
All right.
He's postponed till December. Tell him you did it. You made us do it. Okay, thank you. You too. Public comment, we don't have any more public, so we will pass that. Communications, anything that qualifies? Mr. Walker, Mr. Flood? Any committee reports, anything of that nature? No? Member comments?
Look at all those little things on that screen.
A lot of stuff, huh?
you guys, from my observation of what you did tonight, and taking action on somebody that wasn't here, I understand why you did it. In the past, former zoning board of appeals members would have denied the thing and made him apply all over again. So you're nice guys, so give yourselves a pat on the back. And I don't know if all that needs to be in the minutes, but I'll tell you, this is the first time I have ever seen somebody wants a variance along the rear property line, and they can get it except for the last 10 feet on either side. That's the biggest bunch of hooey I have ever heard in my life.
Wait, they can't get it on the back. I mean, that 10-foot, they need that variance also. You're saying,
No,
You're saying the way
A
it's,
rear yard is a rear yard and has absolutely nothing to do with the side yard. The side yard is the side yard. The side yard does not extend, and encroach 10 feet on the rear property line. It just doesn't.
The ordinance book does not agree with you.
To put the 6-foot fence there on that property line,
you'd be.
you gotta get that 10 feet variance in order to get it to the property line.
I know.
Because right now, the variant, what they're asking,
And whoever rewrote that stuff sold the township a bill of goods, in my opinion.
because you're,
That's the biggest
I have
bunch of
to-
nonsense and who we have
I
ever
agree
heard.
with you. Now, let's say they put it 10 foot off that rear property line, then you would be encroaching in the side yard, but I don't see anything wrong with what you're saying, Joanne, and not at all. The rear property line is a rear
Wait till
property.
I talk to Tammy.
I think this is all her fault.
I don't know whose fault it is, I could care less. All I know is somebody wasn't paying close attention to what the planning consultant was doing.
Well, in the previous meetings, I mean, one of the last things that Mr. Floodwood had did in some of those, he's always said that it's rear property line only, remember on those, Mike?
did anyone recently go down Walden Road there and see that new 4-foot shadow box fence put on the property line, which they're allowed to do? And that was an applicant who we had turned down previously.
Why don't they just all do that and everybody would be so happy?
Except those of us who live there and think it looks like the devil. And they got some guy that's got a metal fence,
If they,
that refer that, a lot or two to the west.
Yeah,
I think they don't want to put in shrubbery because the trees are so tall, it's really hard to get stuff to grow there. And there's a safety path there that really wasn't there a long time ago. The safety path is a concern when.
Safety path,
Because people are looking right into their
Safety path is-
backyard.
Been there.
That's the first
at
safety path
least
put in.
35 years.
50 years almost.
No,
The safety
no,
path?
no, no.
1970s.
No, the safety
Let them
path was put in after Jill Bastian was elected clerk. There were no safety paths.
Yeah, what year was that, Joanne? 80
I
something?
don't know, but I was supervisor from
Yeah.
80
But-
to 92, and I know it was done while I was supervisor, and it wasn't done the first year I took office. I mean, it was
That's the
3
first-
or 4 years into when I,
That was the first safety path put in the township, is on Walden Road right there. And Jill, yes, and then
the
the
next one
millage,
was,
the millage was defeated, and then the next time around, they approved a millage for safety path. Yep,
you're talking the millage?
the safety path millage was defeated the first time it was put out to the public. Next, 2 years later, they put it back out again, it passed by 3 votes.
Okay.
It was back when
That
Jill.
safety
yeah.
path ended up being put there because some girl who lived, in that case, it was Gemini,
Yeah.
which backs up to Walden Road, was playing and got hit by a car. Fortunately, I mean, she was injured, but survived and everything, and that's when they decided that it was too dangerous to have the kids walking to school and doing that sort of stuff.
Yep.
That's why that safety path got put in, and the
Yep.
second one was along Clarkston Road from 24 west out
Yep.
to Pine Tree.
That's when they built junior high west, originally, that's what that was. Exactly, so the kids could get there, yeah.
And I know I had to fight with the engineers, or at least the rookie from the firm, who was concerned, well, there are tree roots. He said, you can cut the tree roots of that maple tree, and it's not gonna impact that maple tree one whit. That maple tree is still standing proud and tall, but by cutting the roots out at that point, because they were high, and that's what maples tend to do. Those roots tend to grow up at times, and, it made the path smooth rather than have a bump in it.
Yep. That's all comments I got.
Any other history you people would like?
I would like to offer one comment, and it may not be too popular, but that's okay. In reference to the first case, the township sought the need to get a legal opinion, and they reached out to their legal consultants. And when I read through the legal opinion, I understood why they were saying what they were saying, but then they kind of strayed off the path. For them to use words like arbitrary and capricious when referencing this board, we have to take care not to be arbitrary or capricious. With the depth of experience on this board, if they believe that is something that happens, maybe they need to watch more of the tapes, because it does not happen. We bend backwards to go the opposite way from being arbitrary or capricious, and I just took that as a slight to myself and the members of the board. That's all I've got.
I understand your position, but arbitrary and capricious is part of the state law as it comes to zoning boards of appeals and studying variances and things like that, so,
Not wishing to defend my brother counsel on that stuff, but, and Joanne is absolutely correct. It's a legal term of art is what it is. And it sounds worse than it. I didn't get the intent from that letter that they were assuming we were arbitrary and capricious. I didn't get that. But it's well noted when lawyers write letters, they ought to understand who their audience is, about who they're writing to, and make sure that everybody is on the same page. Sometimes lawyers get a little full of themselves and use big old words when a little old word would do. But I don't think there was any intent, I didn't get that sense.
well, the other thing, you have to realize it was written by one of the new hires at the law firm, too. It wasn't somebody who's been at the law firm forever and a day.
That is true, too. Well, let's say, I'll finish with, I hope you two are right. And I'm
Well,
done.
the other thing, that arbitrary and capricious comes out of court decisions that have been made in past years. I mean, those are kind of words judges like to use. And
If we're finished, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Clark? And we have,
Can't we argue some more?
we have a motion and a support, all in favor? Aye. We're done, thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
The audit is going to be presented to you in November for the last year. You can use that to compare with this to see exactly where you're at financially, and we will have additional information should it be needed so that you're up to date.
Thank you. Entertain a motion.
I move to receive